Hey guys, it's Bree, and I thought I'd make a video today on how to get over breakups. Now, we've all been through some pretty bad ones. I've been through a couple, but I just thought that, every once in a while somebody needs like a guideline or some kind of basis to help them through it. So this is just going to be like a list of tips and like sequential orders of how, in my opinion, people should get over breakups. So the first thing you need to do when are going through a breakup is to reflect on it. Now, it's really hard to think about something that makes you feel bad, that makes you feel hurt, but this is also one of those times where you can actually be painfully honest with yourself. And that means, thinking, what did this person do to me? Did I do anything wrong? What did they do wrong? I often go back and replay where the mistakes happened, what I could have done differently to prevent it, what he could have done differently to prevent it. And in the process of thinking about it, it helps you accept it more. A lot of the reason why we're so distraught when breakups happen is because we can't believe it. We can't believe that this person that we gave our life to has suddenly just up and left. Or we don't believe that the things that we did and the efforts that we made weren't enough for that person to stay. So there's a lot of disbelief going on, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of disbelief, and being able to reflect back on it is an easier way to be able to accept it. Do not constantly distract yourself from the issue, because we as human beings need to release grief, we need to release sadness, things like that. And if you constantly distract yourself, all you're doing is burying that feeling deeper and deeper and deeper inside of yourself. And it's gonna come out one way or another, whether it's in your room by yourself or when you're out in public having fun and all of a sudden it hits you and now everybody's wondering why you're crying out in public. So me, I'd rather cry by myself or feel sad by myself and let it all out so that I'm able to then move on. When it comes to social media, that does make things a little bit harder, because of course you have all these pictures with that person and you're probably in their bios and all that good stuff, and a lot of people's first response is to go through their profile page or whatever and delete everything, delete all traces of that person. And I'm not going to say that's wrong, but when you so suddenly cut someone out of your life like that, it really leaves a huge void within yourself. And whenever you have a void, you're going to want to fill it, whether it's with, something good like exercising more often or eating healthier, or it could also be something bad like smoking or drinking a lot or having sex with random people. People do crazy things when they're trying to fill a void because it's such an urgency that you feel, because nobody wants to feel incomplete. That being said, you have to understand that that person did not complete you in the first place. You have to understand that you were a whole person before you got into the relationship, and you will leave a whole person. Understand that some people aren't meant to stay in your life forever. If you think about it, every relationship that you've been in is either going to end in marriage or it's going to end in a breakup. So it's not unlikely that the relationship you're in would have sooner or later ended. But that person can add things to your life that you didn't have before, and that's totally fine to accept. You can accept that that person made you very happy and that person did things for you that you couldn't do for yourself. It's totally okay to accept those things. But you have to remember that you can still provide yourself those things even though that person is gone. For me, it's really important to think about what I learned in the relationship. And also, I get to learn more about what I like. So, and then if I were to get in another relationship, I know the warning signs of what to look out for. I know that, for example, let's say my boyfriend used to do things that to me were kind of weird, and then he ended up, doing something crazy, and I kind of had an instinct in the first place. So if I see that in someone else, I'm going to know to avoid that. You only learn. The more you go through relationships, the more you learn. My second tip is to grieve. Allow yourself to grieve. Friends and family and, people who hear about what happened to you, they're going to tell you, move on, he's dumb, she's dumb, you can be single now, you can do whatever you want, it's fine, like you're going to get over it, you're going to be okay. And yeah, those things are true in the long run, but in the moment, 9 times out of 10, that's not what the person wants to hear, and that's personally not what I want to hear either. I want to be able to share what happened and share how I feel and get all the tears out, get all the frustration out, all the anger out, because that is the only way that I can then move on. You have the right to be sad. You definitely have the right to be sad. In many cases, you're losing a girlfriend or a boyfriend, but you're also losing a best friend. You're also losing a brother or sister figure, or a mother or father figure, someone that plays so many different roles in your life because you were vulnerable to them and you let them in. And it's really sad that that's one of the only ways to be able to have a successful relationship is to bare your soul and to be vulnerable to that person. And that's why it's so hard when you have to let them go. It's really hard at first because you're so used to thinking about that person every moment of every day. And to know that they're gone is only going to continue to drill in your head. Oh my gosh, what are they doing? Are they thinking about me? Are they sad? Am I stupid for feeling this way? And once you start to occupy yourself more, you might not think about them for 5 seconds. And then you'll think about them again and you'll be like, whoa, I didn't think about them for 5 seconds. At least this is how I did it. And then after 5 seconds, it becomes a minute, it becomes hours. Sometimes you'll go a full day without thinking about them. And it feels good. It feels good to know that your brain and your heart aren't so completely and utterly occupied because of that one person. And then days will turn into weeks, weeks will turn into months, and soon you'll be over it. A big thing that I like to tell people is that crying does not signify weakness. Crying is something that we do when we feel an extreme emotion, when we feel extreme happiness, extreme sadness, extreme fear. Crying is just an extension of the passion that you feel attached to that emotion. So there's nothing wrong with crying. Crying does not mean you're weak. Crying means that you are compassionate. And crying means that you are understanding and you know that these things hurt not only you but other people too. And if you're the one that broke up with the other person, a very common feeling is guilt. But you have to understand that you did it for a reason. Or at least I hope. If you're watching this, I hope it means that you did it for a good reason and that you're just feeling really guilty about it. And I can help you with that. Because it's normal to feel guilty to a certain extent because they're going to think you don't love them anymore, they're going to think you don't want to try anymore, things like that. And you can feel guilty for a long time, and you need to accept that within yourself, that you did it for a reason. Now, for me, grieving is a very, very important part of the process because when you are in grief and in sorrow, it's one of those times where you can't lie to yourself. You know, you think about that person and your stomach aches, or your chest starts pounding, your heart starts pounding and things like that. Like, you are going to have physical reactions to the emotional reactions that you feel. You can't lie to yourself. You know you're upset. It's okay. Your friends are going to be like, come on, let's go out. If you don't want to go out, don't go out. You know, if you need to be within yourself and you need to self-reflect and all that, that's okay. It's okay to be honest with yourself at this time. This is a time where you will become so close and you will know yourself so well. And that's great. That's what you need in your life. You need to be able to understand yourself and to give yourself the things that you need. You're no longer masked by the optimism or the what ifs or all of the things that might have held you back in the first place. Now you can finally say, okay, well, actually, this part of the relationship wasn't all that good. Actually, this part kind of pissed me off a little bit. You know, you can actually go through and see, you know, these things weren't really good for me. These things were really enjoyable for me, but these things I didn't like so much. The third step I have is to start loving yourself and to start caring for yourself. Now, this might seem a little bit corny or a little bit weird, but it's very important that when you feel like you've lost a part of yourself, that you need to make up for what you felt like you've lost. Like I said earlier, the void that you get needs to be filled, but it's better if you fill it with positive things rather than negative things. For me, when I was going through a breakup, I decided that I would spend a little bit of extra time in the morning really washing my face really well. And I know that sounds funny, but just having the time to wash my face and think about how beautiful my skin's gonna be and how I'm really taking care of myself, and I don't have to worry about texting him back or calling him, or I don't have to worry about what he thinks I'm doing because I'm just here in this moment and I'm taking care of my skin. It really makes a difference. So whether it's washing your face, getting a pedicure, exercising, brushing your hair in the morning, start with little things like that where it's not going to really take that much time out of you and not that much effort, but it's going to make a really big difference. Me washing my face in the morning turned into me actually having really nice skin, and now I have something to be happy about. I feel like I'm respecting myself more, and I feel like I'm loving myself more because I'm giving myself that extra push that I needed, even if I don't get it from anyone else. Build your confidence as an individual. Chances are when you're in a relationship, you're probably in high school or college, so you're a full-time student, you might have a job, you might be doing some type of community or volunteer service or work or something. You have a family, you probably have friends, hopefully you have friends. And it's like, you have a lot going on. It's okay for one of those things to be taken away. It's okay if your boyfriend leaves. It's okay if your girlfriend leaves. You have so many other outlets. You have music, you have dance, you have, what else do people like to do? Sports, you have clubs, you have so many other things that are going to support you. Channel your energy into those things. All the energy that you had put into that one person can now be used for so many other things. My point of this is that your partner benefits you, but they don't complete you. You are a whole person without them. You can make it without them. Your goals don't disappear because that person is gone. Your interests and your loves don't disappear because that person is gone. If your goal was to have an amazing car by age 25, you can still have that car without that person. Matter of fact, you'll probably be richer and get that car faster because that person is gone. If you always wanted to be a psychologist, there's nothing holding you back. You don't have to worry about where you're going to go to graduate school so you can stay with that person. You don't have to worry about not spending enough time with your friends or not spending enough time with your family because you have to make sure that that person is satisfied. Another thing that I did that really helped me get over it was to listen to a lot of music, and I actually made breakup playlists. So I would pick a lot of really sad songs or songs that I really thought explained how I was feeling and put into words the things that I couldn't do myself. And just listening to someone else who's gone through the same thing kind of speak your mind for you. It's like, oh wow, yes, that's exactly how I feel. That makes me feel so much better knowing that someone else has kind of gone through the same thing and kind of understands, even if they're not talking to you. You know, this is just something on the radio or on SoundCloud or something, but just knowing that someone else has gone through the same thing and they can maybe better understand how they're feeling is very, very comforting. There's a lot of pressure in this society that the only way that you can be happy is if you get married and you have children, you have a beautiful family. But things are changing so much. There's so many happy single people out there because the word single has this negative connotation where if you're single, you're alone, you're lonely, you're by yourself. There is nothing wrong with being alone. There's nothing wrong with me living in this room by myself. There's nothing wrong with me having my door shut half the time. There's nothing wrong with that. Because the thing is, once we put pressure on another human being to validate our happiness, you can't be happy. You can't be happy because that person, if they were to sway in any way, so would your happiness. It becomes an unstable situation where if they're not happy, I'm not happy. If they're not okay, I'm not okay. Don't give someone else the power to control your emotions. My fourth tip is to build up your other relationships. Your friends are there for a reason. They're there to help you. They're there to support you. I know we all have those different types of friends. That one friend who's like, man, forget him, let's go party. That one friend who's like, yeah, I understand, I went through the same thing. It's okay to hear everybody's opinion, but at the end of the day, you have to make the decision for yourself of how you're going to handle the situation. Don't ignore your subconscious. If you decide to tell your friend what's going on and they're saying all these things and you're like, yeah, you're right, like you're really vibing and you're really agreeing with what they're saying, it's probably because you already believed that within yourself, but you just didn't want to accept it. For example, let's say I am breaking up with my boyfriend, and lately he's been doing a lot of things on his own, and he hasn't been inviting me places, and he just doesn't really think to tell me that he's going out and things like that. And deep inside, I know that's an issue. I know that might be a problem. But when we're together, it's not. Because I still get to see him. Let's say I still get to see him on the weekends. He still calls me every night before he goes to bed. That's okay. But now my friend is telling me, yeah, that's a warning sign. That's something that upsets you and you shouldn't have to put up with it. And inside I'm going, yeah, you're totally right. That's your subconscious talking. That's your inner mother saying, hey, like, there's something wrong. You need to fix this. You shouldn't have to put up with this. If you don't cry in front of your friends, who are you going to cry in front of? Who are you going to cry in front of? Your professor? Your teacher? A stranger on the street? If you can't cry to your friends, who are you gonna cry to? And then, if you're one of those people that don't really like talking about your feelings, and maybe you are not comfortable with everybody knowing your business, write it down. When I was going through a breakup a couple years ago, I decided to write letters to my ex, and every night I would write him a letter telling him, these were my intentions for us, these were my plans for us, I'm sorry that they didn't work out, I saw your efforts and I hope you saw mine, this is where I felt like I messed up, this is where I felt like you messed up. That's it. And I would feel so much, of course I wouldn't send them, I would not send them to him, I wouldn't, but just knowing that I have control over what's happening and I have an understanding, no matter how vague, of what's been happening to me, that helps me a lot. Step 5 is to do things that individualize yourself. By that I mean, make your own memories. I know for me, I'm one of those people that remember everything. I remember what day we started talking, I remember where we were, I remember everything. And so, you know, having to drive past the place where we first met every day, or having to walk past this cement rock that we sat on 3 years ago, things like that really get to me. But a good way of throwing away those memories is to make new ones. So for example, my favorite restaurant is Olive Garden. And let's say, this is not true, but let's say I had a boyfriend 3 years ago, and for my birthday he took me to Olive Garden. And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, he knows my favorite restaurant, this is amazing. And then we had a very bad breakup. I probably never want to go to Olive Garden ever again, because I know I'm just going to go crazy and I'll be thinking about him and how he left me and all that crazy stuff, and I'll be like, no more chicken parm for me, no more Alfredo, no. But there comes a time, and this definitely takes a lot of time, but there comes a time where I'm going to want Olive Garden again, and I'm going to want to enjoy it. So I'm going to call up my best friend and I'll be like, hey, you want to get some chicken parm? And we're going to go, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to laugh. And now, when I pass by that Olive Garden, I'm going to think of her and not him. Maybe I'll think of both for a while, but after a while, usually the most recent event is what's going to stick in your head. And I'm going to remember how happy I was and how amazing that time was. If you tend to go to the movies with your boyfriend every weekend, or your girlfriend, try doing something else every weekend. You might be compelled to go to that movie again, but try doing something else. Do something that you haven't done before. Do something that he or she would have never done, that you can finally do because they're not worried about you doing it. Or you can actually do it with them without them being angry at you. Remember that a breakup doesn't change who you are. So don't do things that are so out of your comfort zone because you're trying to be this new person, or because you're trying to be the person that they wanted you to be. That is a very big mistake, is trying to be the person that you think they want for you. Because if they don't want the person that you are, sad to say, but you are who you are. And if they can't accept that about you, if they can't accept that you are you, then why are you with them? Step 6 is to think lowly of them. Now, this is one of those steps that you can potentially take too far. What I mean by think lowly of them is to focus on their bad qualities. For example, I was with a guy, he who shall not be named. We had a very long relationship, and it's not my current boyfriend. It's not my current boyfriend. When we were together, I basically overlooked all of the things that I didn't like about him. I knew that they were there, but I convinced myself that I could put up with them. And then after we broke up, I would think, yeah, I actually really hated that he smoked so much. You're not in the relationship anymore. You don't have to pretend that they're perfect. Because they're not. They are not. And I know you think they are, but they're not. They're not perfect. But on the other side of that tip, don't overload yourself thinking about this person. It's okay to think about the bad things that they did. It's okay to reflect on the good times you had, but you're never going to really get over someone if you continue to think about them all the time. Because you're just going to be reminded of all the good times you guys had and all the things that really broke your heart. So, with that being said, don't try to make them miss you. If they miss you, they're gonna miss you. Don't try to get them back. Don't text them all the time. Don't call them repeatedly. Don't go to their house and stalk them out. Like, let everything take its course. Everything needs a little bit of time, and you're gonna be okay. I really promise you're gonna be okay. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I have for now. If you guys want like a follow-up kind of thing to this video, let me know. Let me know what else you guys want to know, like as far as relationships. I know this is a pretty popular topic now, and people have been giving me some kind of suggestions, so just let me know. Leave a comment for me. This was kind of a different kind of video for me, just to be talking with you guys, but I really like hope that we can interact like that, and I can potentially give out some really good advice. So yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.